how do we tell our story if people aren't willing to come to us? So we're trying to figure out, this go around is how do we get our story to people where they are? I mean, none of our schools were built strictly on money from the School Facilities Board. If it wasn't for bond money, none of our schools would exist the way they exist today.
I was talking to Nathan. We've done a couple podcasts together, and I asked him today, I said, do you feel that Buckeye Union is a fiscally conservative district or comparatively to the others? And he said both.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we try to be conservative. We always try to be smart, and we certainly are very conscientious when we're going to our taxpayers to have to help our district out. We want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible. So what I can tell you, when I started 4 years ago as a superintendent, there was no carry forward as far as our budget. There wasn't a savings account per se. And I blew my mind. And so it's recommended that any school district at a minimum carry forward 4% of your operating budget into an annual every year so that you have a little bit of money to fall back on if times get tough. So we've been there now for the last 3 years. We've had about a 4% carry forward, which is not a lot because we couldn't carry our whole school district for a year on our carry forward, but we could get by a few months if something happened. So we try to be very fiscally conservative. I think like we were showing you, if you look at administrative costs, that's a big, thing in the public is you can throw all the money you want in the world at teachers, but don't you dare pay administrators, and, like I said, we're going to add some administrative positions up with the board's blessing next week. We're going to add some positions next year because I have to. We're drowning as a district. We're so skeletal at the district office. We're not able to support our schools the way we need to. But with that said, we're still going to move up of the 13 peer districts we're compared to. Instead of being the second to the bottom, we'll probably be the fourth to the bottom. So we are very, very low in our administrative costs. We try to put our money in the classrooms, and we try to take care of our employees, every year so we can keep our good people with us.
So for the last couple of years, I've been investigating school districts and travel. And your district is always on the low end.
Oh, yes.
You of all the school districts I've been looking at, yours has historically been the least amount on spending. What is your travel policy?
Well, my policy is this. I don't necessarily have a policy per se, but what I can tell you is that we try to be conscientious of our money. So like for me as a superintendent, I attend 3 conferences a year, and only one of them is out of Arizona. So I'm going to the national conference this week, and I move that around the U.S. But that's the only one I go to that I travel. Everything else is either in Tucson or Phoenix, and we stay right here. So I think that's just our thing is we try to only travel out of state when we need to travel out of state because that's the only place you can get that. For instance, every year or every other year, we'll send employees to the ISTE conference, the tech conference. Well, you have to go wherever that is. One day they'll do it in Phoenix and nobody will have to. So I think that's just our thing is we try to be, for me, I couldn't afford to be gone any longer than that, traveling all over the place. We don't do, we don't do board retreats outside of the valley. We don't do board retreats outside of our own boardroom. So we just keep everything as local as we can, and we travel when we need to, but not as a luxury. So it has to be justified before we approve it.
What do you think of the state now coming in and making some legislation to try and kind of rein in the districts that do have quite a bit of travel?
I don't know how to. It's the states. Everybody should be fiscally responsible. I guess I look at it that way. Every governing board, every superintendent, of any district should be fiscally responsible, and you're held accountable to the people that you serve. You know what I mean? And so, I can see why we're coming in, and then their opinion they're feeling people are, going there. It's too elaborate or it's too extensive. But then again, depending on the size of the district, it may or may not be. If I'm in a Chandler, a Mesa, a Paradise Valley, in big districts, then you're probably you're probably have a little bit more budget capacity to do some of those things. Mm-hmm. But a smaller district, we only have so big a budget. So we just try to limit. So I don't know. I appreciate people looking out for it, but I think it's really the responsibility of the superintendent and the governing board to make sure that they're keeping that in check.